Hello, everyone. Welcome to GMAC Club's MBA application walkthrough series. I am going to be moderating this event today. My name is Mahima Sharma. Pretty on point for me because I am starting at CBS in exactly less than 2 weeks now, which is exciting. Um, so every Thursday and Friday, GMAC Club is hosting these live sessions where we are going to be walking through 25 different MBA programs, which is super exciting and very insightful. I did this last year and it could really help all the incoming aspirants and students. And please make sure that you subscribe to our channel and just show us more support so that we can continue doing these events as well. Today with us, we have Harold Szymanski, who is a senior consultant at MBA Mission. Welcome, Harold. He has been doing this for a really long time and has a bunch of five-star ratings on GMAC Club. He's pretty popular. So I am good if you want to take it away now, Harold.
Sure. Mahima, thank you very much. And first off, congratulations on starting Columbia Business School. That's very, very exciting.
Thank you.
Like you said, you were doing exactly this last year, and I understand you went on a similar video. So that is great, and it just underscores the importance of everyone to watch our videos, like our videos, and at that point, by all means, follow us. But on that note, why don't we jump right on in here? And Mahim will be looking for questions, and occasionally I'll pause to ask some questions. But let's just jump right on in here to the Columbia Business School application. And here it is. And this is the first screen you will see after, and this is an important point, after you choose which program you're going to be part of. And unfortunately, I can't get back to that previous screen because it's already sent me on my way. But Columbia has many different MBA programs. There's certainly an executive MBA, a part-time MBA, different locations. But I think what makes Columbia quite different is they also have a August start date, which allows you to have an internship during the summer. And they also have a January start date. And very similar applications, if not the same applications, except I think can be a significant difference in terms of your program experience. So the August start date, which Mahima will be doing soon, allows you to have that summer internship and to try something new possibly, or to lay the groundwork for having a full-time offer. And it is great for people who are sort of, figuring things out, wondering what to do, want to have the full MBA immersive experience. There's also a January term that is about an 18-month program. You have school during the summer. And I think this is probably best for people who already know what they're going to do. Maybe they're going back to their job, or simply take advantage of all the in-semester internships allow for. And in that way, cut your time short a little bit, save a little money that way. And again, it's something to consider, maybe the first question. And with regard to acceptance rates, it's been our experience that it is easier to get into the January term than it is into the August term. And again, please keep that in mind. So jumping right back in here. So on behalf of the
Harold, sorry, I'm just going to stop you there. There's a really good question
Okay,
that someone posted in the chat asking, is the January program considered MBA?
It is not. It's considered a full-time MBA.
Cool. Thanks.
And of course, and you are there full-time. Okay, perfect. Great then. So this is your first page. Welcome. And of course, they're always giving you a welcome. And just to give you a sense of how serious they are about it, they're giving a welcome to a group of people of which only about 20% will be accepted. So Columbia is one of the most really competitive programs. It really requires you to do a lot of work before you even start the application in terms of getting to know the school. By all means, a great school, as Mahima can tell you in just a few weeks even. But let's continue to that very first page. So the first thing that you'll see from many business schools is simply the honor code, making sure that you acknowledge it. And the honor code is as it sounds. You're not going to cheat. You're not going to steal. You're not lying on this application. So as we continue here, the first question, and we frequently have this question, is, okay, you're giving a number of choices in far of things like, what are you going to study? We're going to really focus on what your future looks like. And people have a tendency of really overthinking. Business schools fully recognize that you're probably going to change your mind at some point, that you're there to, in fact, explore. So what I tell people is, give them a reasonable answer. You don't have to go crazy. You don't have to try to game the system. They themselves, this does not impact your likelihood of acceptance. For them, it's for internal reasons to better understand what people are interested in today. So your primary area of focus, and I put down entrepreneurship. And again, just be candid. I mean, what the thing that you will be seeing throughout the much of my advice is just being candid. Just this is not a process that you can game in some way. Give the answer that's most appropriate for you. Certainly, what MBA, what Columbia is known for, that's I think quite unique is first of all, it does a great job as far as it does a great job across the board, particularly sustainability. It does a great job in. Obviously, finance, it does a great job in. Entrepreneurship is beginning to have a much bigger footprint, and it is unique in its value investing program, which is really a type of investing that Warren Buffett follows, that was really founded at Columbia. And if you want to be a portfolio manager and equity researcher, you may want to consider that program, which you have to apply to when you are a student at Columbia. More information online as far as the value investing program, but that is truly a unique piece right here. And then as far as your primary area of focus, I'm going to say entrepreneurship. Second area of focus, I put down value investing, change it to private equity. It doesn't really matter. Future experience. Please indicate the industry in which you plan to work upon completion of your MBA. Again, business schools just want to have a broad sense of what you're looking for here. They are not going to ever hold you to it. In fact, our estimate is that only about 20% of all business school students do what they said they were going to do in their application. So again, business school recognizes you may change your mind, but again, these are broad categories. Okay, so maybe that first job is consulting. If you're like 1/3 to 40% of your classmates, it likely will be consulting. Now, consulting is an overall industry, but what you are actually going to focus on within that industry can be many different things. So as you can see, just a whole world here. There certainly is one thing about strategy consulting. In this case, they call it strategic planning, which is really an internal job, business development job. But again, you can see there's just a world of opportunity here, a world of different possibilities. And again, just be very realistic about what your plans might be. And as far as consulting goes, if you want to work for a Bain, McKinsey, BCG, general management consulting is probably what you're looking for. Are you currently enrolled in a graduate program at Columbia? You either are or you're not. What impact it will have is really program dependent. Are you applying or not yet enrolled for admission to a participating dual degree school? The answer again is either you are or you're not. Generally, though not always, each of those applications really have their own requirements, are reviewed by different admissions committees. So again, it's more a question of, is this something you're going to do, rather than anticipating will it help your application or not.
Harold, sorry, we have a bunch of
Sure.
questions here. So I'm going to pop it on the page. So this is about not having a major for CBS, and will the choice of focus, I guess, in the first little drop down that you selected influence future course choice. And if you don't mind, I can talk a little about this.
Yeah.
So like you said, there is no real major at CBS. But it doesn't, it really, so the courses that you choose is a little bit your own liking. So initially, the core courses are something that everyone has to do altogether unless you exempt out of them. But everyone takes the core courses, and then you can select your second year courses by yourself. So then a little bit about that focus comes into play there, where based on your focus, you can select we have like a bunch of courses, so you can select one of those and go by that route. But curious if you have something to add, Harold.
No, listen, I think that's right. The nice thing also about being in New York City is not only will you have courses that you can try things out, but also internships and other opportunities that are happening outside of the classroom.
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect.
Right. And one more here, which we can maybe take. So area of academic focus is what you have already studied or worked on.
Not necessarily. It could be a focus that you anticipate when you get to business school.
Yes, exactly. All right. Thanks, Harold. We can go ahead.
As we carry on here.
Yes.
Have you previously applied to Columbia Business School? Again, you either have or you haven't. Okay, here I think is some important questions. Have you ever spoken with a Columbia Business School program representative or attended an admission-sponsored event? Or do you know any current students at Columbia Business School? The short answer is Columbia specifically asked the question, why Columbia? It's question 3 this year. So this is something you want to do. You want to make sure that you go to the different webinars, you go to the different opportunities to learn the school, you even connect with real people, current students, recent graduates. And one of the reasons that you want to connect with them, or in this case, know any of them, is because they can provide an informal letter of recommendation. And that would be a simple email to the admissions committee, to even the director of admissions. And really it comes down to, hey, this person is a great person. I know them very well. And please, can you let them in, basically. Mahima, let me pause. Is that similar to the experience that you had?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's so I guess I'm going to circle back a little bit to the admissions event part that I guess you kind of briefly went over. But I attended like a bunch of events because I was local in the city, so I could meet the AdCom for time to time, and then I made sure I added that in. And the upside to that is just, I guess, having an idea of um, them knowing that you're, I guess, trying and going out of your way to know the school and just make an effort, which they obviously appreciate in the application. But yeah, if you had, is that what you were looking for, Harold, or did
Yeah,
I?
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 absolutely. I think so. And did you know anybody at Columbia?
Um, Not necessary from the school program, like personally, but
Yeah,
I did reach out to people on LinkedIn, which is again a good tip. You should always do that. Make sure you reach out to people on LinkedIn, show that you're interested in the program, maybe set up coffee chats. And then it's always fair game to put those names in if you have a really good connection with them in that little box, because then it shows that, and even if you're mentioning to AdCom that, hey, I reached out to them on LinkedIn, that shows more effort on your end than just personally knowing someone. So yeah, I
yeah.
guess I did that, which I would encourage everyone to do.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. Great then. So a couple of other questions. Here's one that people find particularly fraught is, if you're applying in August, would you consider going in January? And this is also one of those things where, as you can see, note that your response will not impact your August application decision. So again, they are sort of reaching out, poking around a little bit. Generally, January is somewhat under enrolled. So from their perspective, if they find somebody who may be not wholly appropriate for August for whatever reason, then an opportunity for you and for them to actually maybe start in January, I think can be very attractive. But potentially for both of you. Are you serving or have you served in the United States military? You either have or you haven't. Were you ever subject of disciplinary action at a prior academic institution? You better tell them the truth, because they're going to be checking up on you on that one. Have you ever been convicted of a crime? Again, the same thing. Make sure you tell the truth. And I tell everyone, the admissions committee is all knowing. They will figure things out one
Yeah.
way or the other.
Yeah, I think it always helps to not lie on anything in the application. Because like there's a whole background check that happens after this is after you get in, and if they figure out that you've been lying about something, that just shows us like a big red flag on your application, which you probably don't want. So like you said, don't lie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And what gets hard sometimes for international students is verifying some employment. Particularly, again, background checks, they do the best they can. But if you've worked at a smaller company, if you worked at something that maybe was something of a startup, you have to be very careful in terms of how you list that, how you explain it in the application. So when the background check actually starts happening, they can find the organization, or they may even come back to you for more information.
Right.
Um,
Harold, just stopping you for a quick question. I think
yeah,
it's
of
been
course.
posted time and time again. So I guess this is about knowing someone at CVS. So should we mention alumni, or is it only for current students?
You can mention alumni.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, you certainly can. And again, alumni, if you know them well enough, can even shoot a quick email over to the admissions committee. Just say they know you, they like you, and you'd be a great addition to the community.
Yes. Perfect. All right.
Great. And let me pause here. First of all, if you like what we're doing right now, by all means, subscribe to all that's going on with GMAT Club. Like this video, as well as come to our website, mbamission.com, and sign up for a free 30-minute consultation. And honestly, there's no reason not to. But on that note, let me continue here. Okay. So now we get to what I would say a fairly straightforward piece of the application. Again, personal, name, address, and address is generally just where you live. There's certainly people who want to put in their parents' address because they're moving around a lot, but whatever makes the most sense to you. For whatever reason, I think some schools require that you include a mobile number. Okay, then. Birth date, to be, they will check this out. Birth country, they will check it out. Native language, obviously, that's something you have to be truthful with. There's no sense of putting down a language. I mean, it's almost silly if you don't put down your native language. As you can see, legal sex right there, and honestly, legal sex and gender identity for many of you can be different, and by all means, let them know. You do it and an LGBTQ, by all means, identify. Not so much it's going to have any sort of impact on your ability, on your acceptance, one way or the other, but also there may be some organizations on campus that may reach out to you just because they feel that you're a potential member or you may benefit from some of their programming. Pronouns, whatever you traditionally use. Citizenship, this is always, I would say, take a moment here in the sense of dual citizenship, even if it's not with the US, if it's to other countries, is certainly valuable. By no means, and frequently I'll have the question, someone may be a dual citizen, for example, with Russia and some other country. And just given the political situation, at times people say, hey, should I let them know I'm also a dual Russian citizen? And the reality is, yes, you absolutely should. It's only to your benefit. US Social Security number, a lot of privacy issues around that. But by all means, if you have any privacy issues, by all means, reach out to them. Where did you grow up? Again, don't try to game this. There is wonderful experiences across the world, so by all means, answer truthfully. And as far as the language fluency goes, other than your native language, when they say fluent, they mean fluent. It is not unusual, or it's not unprecedented, that when you go for that interview, and if you say you're fluent in one language, that at that point the interview can start in that language. So don't say that you're Italian when you go to meet somebody for coffee and they start talking to you in Italian and suddenly you're not as fluent as you thought. And again, reflects the fact that everyone should be very candid in what they say. And by no means do you feel like any one issue is going to be a make or break as far as your candidacy goes. As I continue here, let me just pause for questions or for Mahima, if you have anything to add.
Yes. I guess we do have a question. Will they know that we've mentioned their name, CBS alum? I think a little bit about this. I'm not entirely sure, but I do know that sometimes it's not uncommon for the admissions committee to sometimes go back to an alum or like a current student and get some feedback on the applicant if they're really on the fence about someone. So you don't want to say you know someone and actually don't know them that well, that they can't vouch for you or just put in a good word for you because they don't even know you that well. So I think that would look worse on your application rather than not having any name there, which is perfectly fine because you're not supposed to know anyone who goes to CBS. It's just an added point for them to get some feedback. But not sure if you want to add something to that, Harold.
No, I think that's exactly right. Exactly right.
Okay, cool. We do have more. So this is a good one, I feel. How do school verify? I think this is later on when we put in like more resume and like community work stuff, but how do they verify? This goes back to maybe the background check stuff that we briefly spoke about, but how do they know if you actually did any of that work?
Right. I think you're absolutely right. There can be a background piece to it as well as during the interview, they can ask you about it. And at the end of the day, if you start stumbling around, that's going to be something of a red flag here. And what I always tell folks, and it's obvious, but don't go towards those things that can get you automatically rejected. If there's any sort of inconsistencies in your resume, if there's something in your employment report that doesn't make sense, whether it's something big or small, it's simply not worth the risk, because whatever marginal value you think you will gain by shading the truth, you have to recognize that if they recognize that as shading the truth, you're immediately rejected. So from that point, I don't think it's ever really worth it.
For sure. Yeah. I'm just going to take one more year, Harold, and then we can continue. So I guess this is about the dual citizenship piece that we spoke about. And I guess the question is, which should you put like one citizenship on the first little text box that you have versus the other, or it doesn't matter?
I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters. I would like to see U.S. citizenship number one, but
Yeah.
I don't think it really matters.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. We're good now. Thanks for that.
Perfect. Of course. So as we move along here, we come to your upload a photo. People are always a little bit concerned about this. And what I tell them, it is a simple photo, selfie, headshot. The reality is this is not going to be a place that they're going to spend a lot of time, energy, and effort looking at. It's not a particular place for any personality. They just want to start putting a face to the name. So again, do not overthink this by any means.
Just one thing I would like to add about that is that they are definitely looking for a professional picture.
Okay.
I know sometimes people are thinking about, posting a picture with their dog, which is very cute. I would love to
Yes.
see that, but it's definitely like a professional application. So maybe like a cool you in a business suit or some formal, but definitely don't overthink it, but don't make it too informal too.
That's right.
Yeah.
Mahim, exactly right. I couldn't agree.
Yeah.
So again, I mean, somewhat straightforward here. Family, and this is sort of really just to gauge your own upbringing in terms of what your own community look like. To the point that they will add quite explicitly if you're the first of your family to go to college, and it is somewhat impactful, but it is seen as just one piece of the whole puzzle here. So again, something that can be verified, though I sort of suspect it won't be verified. But to game the system and to worry about that, I don't think it's worth it. Again, it's just one piece of your entire application, your entire candidacy. Um, Marital status: do you have any children? No impact at all on your candidacy. Relative at Columbia, this is one of those situations where, okay, universities in the US generally consider themselves as one big happy family, at least in the extreme. So any indication of that, any sort of sense that maybe you're a member of the family already, is marginally impactful. I can't say it's particularly impactful. Do you have a domestic partner, significant other relative who's currently submitting an application to Columbia University? This is always an interesting point here. And if I can speak to more generally about, is it a net benefit or a net negative if you have a partner, significant other who's applying to the same school as you? And what I tell folks is, if you are both accepted, it is a marginal benefit. Or there have certainly been indications where one spouse has sort of, pulled the other spouse just across the finish line. So I think it is generally a marginal benefit. And part of the reason for that is they know if they accept both of you, that you are likely to yield, meaning there may be many schools that accept one and don't accept the other, in which case you're less likely to go there than to the school that accepts both of you. The truth of the matter is it's one of those things. They're going to look for your domestic partners or your partner's application. So there's sort of no shading this right here. And again, let me continue here. Okay, resume. A resume is something that you must spend time on. And there are a number of different guidelines as far as creating a resume. On our MBA mission site, we have quite a bit of information on resumes. You can certainly find an online resume template. And just more, I would say, broadly about resumes. Resumes are about the impact you have had. What have you done? Can you put metrics on it? You have increased sales by X%, cut costs by so many dollars. It is very much impact focused. Whatever organization you've been in, what have been your successes there? That's what a resume is about. And a resume also is something that one should look as much as the professional experience as well as the personal experience, or like I say, the second half of the resume. Because business schools are looking to build communities of people who are really engaged, that they themselves will get involved in organizations, make great friends, be sort of lifetime partners with their fellow classmates. And if you indicate on your resume that's not something you've ever done, that at school you were at the library more than you were in any other sort of organization, that is certainly something of a negative. So spend your time on your resume. Make sure that it is different from your professional resume. Business schools are looking for something different. Make sure it shows your personality, your accomplishments. So definitely treat this as serious as an essay, because resumes really are. Let me pause here though. Mahima, any questions coming in or any other thoughts on your part?
Yes, there are a bunch of questions. I'm going to start posting. I'll take, I think we'll take two. So Dinesh asked, should I be concerned about H-1B visa before applying? And if you don't mind, Harold, I can actually answer about this because I am from India
Yeah.
and I am here on visa too. So I don't think you should be concerned about what your citizenship is or what kind of employment or like sponsorship would you be seeking for your employment. Um, um, it's always good to consider what industry you want to, I guess, go into because, for example, there's always a history of tech, really good H-1B selection. Consulting does a lot of help for that too. So I guess be mindful of your industry, but I don't think right now, in terms of going to business school, you should be worried about your H-1B visa. That's definitely something that comes into play when you're trying to seek employment after.
Great. Thank
Uh,
you.
yeah, go ahead. Please, Harold.
No, I was just going to say next question.
Yeah, okay. So I guess this is a good one. What kind of entrepreneurs CVS seek? What aspects should be shown in our application if you want to apply as entrepreneurs and want to pursue entrepreneurship?
Yeah. Yes, certainly great question here. So as far as what sort of entrepreneurs, I would say folks who have lived it, experienced it, but also learned from it. Because business schools will quickly react to someone who was an entrepreneur and says they want to be an entrepreneur. Why do you want to go to business school? You're about to spend $250,000. Wouldn't that money be better spent, starting your next company? So I think what entrepreneurs really have to communicate is what skills they're going to learn at business school that they don't currently have. How actually is business school going to be the bridge from a startup company to another startup company? And frequently the answer has to do with leadership, your ability to really have a vision, have people execute against that vision, be able to pull teams together. And those are things that's the type of experience that's hard and slow to get in what I would say in the real world. While business schools are built to share with you, to teach you, particularly Columbia, as far as, okay, what skills do you need, leadership, organizational behavior, teamwork, and how you can translate that to some of your employees. So for entrepreneurs, always think about skill development and why you're going to business school rather than just starting your next company.
Great answer. Thanks, Harold. We have two more really good ones, so I want to start more and if that's okay. So this is an interesting one. I have a commodity sales firm. How do I show that in work experience and job description? I think this ties back to the resume.
Yeah. No perfect answer until I see it. I assume it has a name, assets under management, what your own role is, how many people are there, how long it's been in existence, and when I'm not going to say you, frequently people will talk about their hobbies as if they were professional experiences. So, for example, and I'm not going to pick on you here, you commodity sales firm. Is it really a firm or is it something you do on the side? And if it is a firm, how many clients, how much assets under management? Do you have any other partners? Are there other people that can speak to this?
Cool. And we'll take one more before we proceed. So I think this is a really good one. What is the average work experience expected from a candidate applying to CBS for the MBA program? And I'll go for a little bit before you, Harold, because I was actually one of them who had really fewer years of experience compared to the average class. I only had 3. And I was actually quite nervous when I was applying, just because of this exact question right here, because I thought the average is definitely 5 to 6 or actually 7 years. I was in the 3-year mark. So this is something I took back to admissions committee of CBS too, and I asked them one-on-one that, is this something that you look at as a red flag? And they mentioned that we really look at impact rather than the time you have spent working. Is the work that you did impactful in your industry, and is it something that you can really use to contribute to the case study and the class and everything that you do within class? Then yeah, sure. That's something that we look at and we'll entertain, and we absolutely don't have a problem with that. But yeah, please add on more to that, Harold, if you have something more to say.
Right. No, of course. What I also tell people, it's about maturity of your career, in the sense of if you've really stayed in place and you started doing Excel spreadsheets and 5 years later you're still doing Excel spreadsheets, well, that has one meaning. as opposed to you started doing Excel spreadsheet and within 3 years you had your own team. Well, obviously that's a different experience. And business schools recognize maturity of your career as much as they do actual years doing what you were doing. Mahima, and we should have started with this. Do you want to give just a little bit of background in your decisions around going to business school and why Columbia in particular?
Yeah, awesome. Sorry. Yeah, we probably should have. But I am a software developer. I worked at Goldman Sachs before. I was an associate software developer there. I worked in tech. And I was actually looking for schools. I was actually looking to pivot into product management. That is why business school seemed like a good idea for me personally. And I really wanted to not be just coding. I really wanted to understand the different parts of the whole product life cycle, like, client management, talking to relationships with your clients, setting up work deadlines, and just everything that's involved in a successful delivery of like a product, which preferably is technical in my case. So which is why I think business school was a great idea. CBS specifically because they have a really, really good entrepreneurship program. I'm actually interested in entrepreneurship. I hopefully will pursue that somewhere down the line and learn a little bit while I'm at CBS. And I also wanted to get a good hold of finance. And I know CBS does a lot of that. So I think I have always lacked that in my professional career. And this is why that would help me personally, that side of, education. And obviously New York City, I think this is like a big USB for CBS just because of, being in the city, which is a major, major city for recruitment. You can get recruited into any industry you'd like. And it's so easy to, interview and just get in touch. Even if you're looking for startups, since they're in the city, it always helps. So I think the location was a really big add-on to me. And whatever admissions events I've been to, CBS just has the nicest people, and that always helps to see yourself being a part of a school that appreciates you and is not, I guess, rude. But yeah, that's a little bit about why I chose CBS, I guess.
Of course, great reasons. I'm sure the new beautiful campus certainly helped in some ways.
Oh yes, I should have mentioned that first, but it's amazing. It's all glass. It's state of art. Really cool.
Yeah, absolutely, an exciting place. No, a really exciting place.
Thank you. Awesome. Yeah, I think we can continue. Sorry.
Okay, perfect. And okay, so employment goes. There are some rules around it, and again, not something to gain out of everything. They will be definitely confirming your employment. They will definitely be confirming your salaries. So at this point, particularly if you work for a big company, they have some specific information here. Do not estimate your annual salary. Do not estimate your bonus. I would just follow their lead on that. I don't have sort of great insights in that. So you can start off by adding that employer here, dates of employment, starting position title, sort of fairly standard things here, additional tips, starting salary. I think where we get to that is somewhat different from your resume is this notion of duties and responsibilities. If your resume is about impact, the application itself is truly about responsibilities. What were you expected to do? Who were you reporting to? What was that role? What was your title? And so this application works very well hand in hand with your resume. There are some subtle differences here. And what I tell people is the application itself can be relatively boring. It is whatever your posted responsibilities are, and that's what you can put in. Reason for leaving, the last one is always to attend business school. Reason for leaving is you will, of course, these things are going to be verified. So if you were fired, involuntarily separated, you have to be candid about that. You really do. If, however, there was a layoff, that is obviously a different situation, and business school will be very aware about which companies laid off a lot of people. I think, what was it, Meta laid off 30,000 people over the past year or so. So business schools fully recognize what a job landscape looks like, particularly in different industries. So a lot of candor here. By all means, I would say keep it unexciting, if you will. Boring is fine here, and just the facts for a lot of these. Perfect. Then, and let me cancel out of this right here. Okay. Okay, I certify my employment. How many months of post-college full-time work experience will we have upon enrolling? Well, Mahima spoke to that. Maybe she had around 36 months.
Yes.
Let me ask you, answer a little bit differently. And that is, how old is too old? How young is too young? So I think we spoke to the question of how young is too young. And as we said, as long as you show some great maturity in your career and that you have really been on a great upward trajectory, then there's, 2 or 3 years, 3 years, even two we've seen. The flip side is how old is too old. The straightforward answer is I really don't worry about age until people get to their mid-30s, sort of 32, 33. I feel like it's something you have to address very forthrightly. I think what business schools are concerned about with older candidates is, have you done a bunch of stuff, never landed on anything, and just going to business school to figure things out? Or the flip side is, have you had just a great career, it's gone off like a rocket ship, and you've just gone along for the ride, and you just haven't been able to catch your breath long enough to go to business school? So then you also have to answer the question, sort of getting back to entrepreneurs, well, really, what are the skills you want to learn? You've had a 7-9 year career. What don't you know? Why can't you learn it in the field? And what exactly do you want to learn in business school? So from that perspective, again, no gaming the system really, but you always need to be thoughtful about the skills you're looking to develop. Are you currently an employee at Columbia? Let me pause there. Maybe we'll take some questions, or Mahima, do you have anything to add about that?
Yeah, I think perfect. We covered everything. We do have some questions related to, I guess, putting in the bonuses and the salary. So, how would you estimate stock as part of your bonus?
Great question, not an unusual question, and you can simply put in the description field sort of what stock you hold, options, warrants, whatever it is.
Awesome. And this is a good one. I work in my family business. What should I put my salary base as?
Yeah, that is always a tough question. And the reality is that, you have to do the best you can. I've certainly seen, so let me speak to a slightly different issue. First of all, Columbia is great for family business. They have a great family business curriculum. I've certainly have seen people who put down, $5,000, $10,000 over the course of their year because they're living with their parents. They have a lot of their expenses paid for, but frequently you'll see inflated bonuses. So this notion here of, okay, maybe I'm making $5,000, $10,000, but at the end of the year, as sort of profits are made, then maybe at that point you potentially get a very big bonus, or at that matter, or maybe you don't. You simply indicate that you have a share of the business as a family business. I tell people, family businesses come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. Some of them are maybe not doing well, and that's why I have to go to business school. Some are doing fantastic, but much of the profit isn't paid out. And if you have any question about or any need for explaining that, that's what they have the optional essay for.
Awesome. Yes, that is perfect.
Right.
We also have one more. I guess this is relating to the. This is about the age that we mentioned for like
Yeah.
business school, and this is about, does age play less of a factor coming from the military?
Yes. There's an expectation, particularly for service academy graduates. There's an expectation that you're going to be. How old would you be? Certainly around the 30 range. That absolutely is seen often. It's not something that you even have to explain.
Awesome. Yes. That is all for now. I guess we can proceed. I guess. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, let me put in a commercial here. GMAT Club, by all means, subscribe, like this video. That allows us to make more videos, as well as MBA Mission, where I work. We have a lot of free resources online. Please take advantage of them. Everyone is entitled to one free 30-minute consultation with one of our consultants, whether it's me or somebody else. It is not for sale. We're not there to sell you, rather it's to answer some of your questions. So by all means, no reason not to take advantage of it.
Yes, and adding on to that, this is like a 6-week program, this live event that we're doing, and we're meeting with 25 different business school programs. So it's a possibility that your dream school is on here, and we're talking about it, we're walking through it. So stay tuned and subscribe, and be here for sure.
Terrific. Absolutely right. Moving on here, are you currently employed at Columbia University? Again, you are, you aren't. Are you providing a letter of recommendation from your current or most recent supervisor? This is a great question. And let me go into a little bit of detail here. There is an expectation that one of your recommendations, I guess for Columbia, it's just one recommendation. So there's the expectation that your recommender will be your direct supervisor. They're the people that see your work every day. They're the ones who know what you look like in a professional setting, what your trajectory has been, if you are informal mentoring people, sort of how you are as a leader, how you are as a member of the community. So that is the expectation. There are certainly reasons why you can't or don't want to get a direct supervisor. And some of them, for example, might be, well, if you ask for a recommendation from your current firm, you'll get fired. So at that point, then that is something to be explained in the optional essay. Quite simply, it will adversely affect my career if I approach a supervisor for a recommendation. Not unusual by any means, and certainly that's something you can run towards. There are a few other different reasons. Maybe your direct supervisor may be new and they haven't had a chance to really get to know you. So maybe you use a previous supervisor, or at bigger firms, they have mentors or they people helping with career development, and they may be the right people to do that. But honestly, you have to be somewhat strategic if you are not having your direct supervisor write the recommendation. Please provide an explanation for any gaps 3 months or longer in your employment history. The reality, some schools ask for 4 months, 6 months. The world is a funny place. And what I mean by that, people do get laid off. Business schools understand that. It can take, particularly during COVID, it certainly took people a long time to find jobs. You don't have to be sheepish about that. You can go ahead and say it. What I tell people, if you've done something significant during that period of time, then by all means, you can certainly elaborate on it. I've had clients who went around the world for 18 months. That's not a negative. Rather, it's an opportunity for growth, and you can explain why you made the choice that you made. This sort of gets to another question that somebody already anticipated. Do you have plans to work for your family business at some point during your career? And the answer might be again, be candid with you. It is, I can't say if it's marginally beneficial or not, but if you say you're going to work for your family business, then certainly in essay 3 of the Why Columbia essay, you may want to elaborate on the fact that you're going to be working in your family business, and Columbia is the perfect place for it. And it really is because of its family business program. So let me continue a little bit more, and then we'll stop for more questions. Education, again, something that is easy to verify. So undergrad GPA, it will be on your transcript, and when you apply, an unofficial transcript will be required. When you actually hopefully get in, then an official transcript will be required. So one way or the other, they're going to catch up to your GPA. Please list any professional credentials. Yes, CFA, CPA, PPM. Is this a place when you can have additional courses you took? The answer is probably not. Though if you took, for example, the HBS core, the credential for readiness, certainly worth putting down here. But a single course, probably not. Maybe that lands in your optional essay, or maybe it doesn't. So it may land on your resume. In fact, sort of, to the side here, I'll frequently have people put on their resumes additional courses that they took just right on the bottom. So, and again, sort of now going through here, it's 11:45. We'll, at least in Boston, we'll go through here a little bit quickly. Extracurricular activities. At this point, these I would say, for the same reason that they are looking for you to be a good community member. One way of them engaging that is what you've done in the past. So, and they say something about here in order of importance. And again, that is very personal. And there really is no right answer here. But it is, what I would say to people is the most important extracurricular or extra professional activities you do are the ones that you have the greatest impact. So let me give you an example. So if you do some volunteering for a homeless shelter, would you rather sit on the board, or would you rather serve soup every Sunday? And the reality is business schools are going to be looking for people who get their hands dirty. So not that there's anything wrong for sitting on the board, but certainly the folks who are there, for over a period of time at regular intervals, maybe doing the same thing and really dealing with the people who the organization is there to serve, I think that really speaks well. And I would say the flip side is when it comes to extracurricular activities, see if you can find something that is very discreet that you can actually point to as an accomplishment. So again, you're on the board of the homeless shelter, indicate, I organized a fundraiser that raised $30,000. Really something that it's not enough to say that this is what you did outside of the office, but what impact you have had. And let me just finish this page, and then we can stop for a minute. Please list other activities or interests that you regularly engage in. Again, this is just a way for business schools to understand you a little bit better. to understand what motivates you, to understand how you spend your time. This is a great place to talk about your musical history, maybe. Maybe you've been taking piano since a young age, you even have some accomplishments there, or things that could be new. I've certainly had people talk about them becoming yoga instructors. I've certainly had successful people talk about how they ride in charitable bike rides, whatever the case may be. But look deeply, think deeply about this, but recognize if you say you like reading, that's probably not the level of specificity that they're looking for. You want to be specific as you can. Specificity is credibility. So it's not just reading, it's reading romantic novels from the 1800s. That certainly is a better conversation starter. So, Mahima, let me again pause here for questions or for your own thoughts.
Yeah. I just want to put in a little time check too. Harold, we're at the 14-minute mark for this live, so just putting that in.
Yes.
The I do have one interesting question that was posted about the education section. So this is about for gaps in employment history. If we postpone the start date for a first job out of college for 4 months to travel, is that considered a gap or not, as employment history had not started yet?
That is considered a gap, and it may only require one line in the optional essay, but I would make sure that you include that line.
Cool. I guess we also have one about I have a master's in science. Can I report the GPA?
Yes, I think they're going to ask you for the GPA when you out of school.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then there's another one. Indians don't usually have GPAs. Should we convert, as the conversion numbers are really low due to bad converter formula?
Yep. Always great question here. I know generally a point of concern. Admissions committees know every school in the world. They know every grading system in the world. It is likely that your application is going to be read by somebody who certainly knows your university, maybe even went to your university. So don't work too hard to convert. They will know what GPAs are, and they'll know what's a good one and what's a less good one.
Awesome. Yes, that's a good point. And then, oh, yes. Is there a maximum of 3 extracurriculars, or can there be more? But I think a little about this. I think it just says 3.
Yep.
So in the case of, if you think you have a lot of extracurricular activities, that's awesome, because that means like a well-rounded life. That's awesome. But in that case, you have to prioritize. And a really good rule of thumb there is to make sure that your application covers every side of you, right? So if you have already mentioned that you're super educational or super like into, say you're from tech, and a bit of your extracurriculars involve you making like a personal website for yourself, for example, that already is entailed kind of in that tech section. So maybe this is a good time for you to talk about like a music lesson or something that is more impactful. So if you, for example, do something impactful over the weekends, or you go teach some young students, that's like a different side to you that they maybe haven't seen in the rest of the application and would love to see about you. So I guess at that point is prioritizing what is a good pointer to be on there. Yeah.
No, great point, Mahima. Great point. I tell people, try to at some point in your application, surprise the admissions committee.
Yeah.
Make something a little bit fun. It's a very human process, so you can imagine folks liking that.
They love when people come in with like different pointers or like an anecdote about themselves, because sometimes when you meet them after, they'll even mention it because they remembered it so well. So it's good to be unique.
Great, 100%. Now we're going to talk about the essays, but GMAT Club and MBA Mission, we have a lot more content about the essays. At MBA Mission, we have guides to every single, what I would say, the top 20, 30 schools about their essays. We have videos about that. GMAT Club has also some great resources. And by all means, the first step is certainly to go out there and see, what's available as far as, understanding essays, what's available online. But the reality is that every essay is unique. There is no one formula. In fact, MBA Mission, we have a great guide that includes successful Harvard and Stanford essays. Frequently people read that book and think that there's some magic formula. And what I tell people, what makes it for a good essay is, first of all, it is well written, but at the same point, it is unique and specific to you. It's very authentic, because at the end of the day, there's only one you. If you sound like anybody else, then they're more likely to take that other person. Honestly, there's always somebody who has that better GMAT than you, more longer, better work experience. So tell the story that only you can tell. So with that in mind, let me quickly run through this again because these are too big. These essays are too big to talk about in great detail here. What is your immediate post MBA professional goal? 50 characters. Keep it simple. I will, work at a management consulting firm. That's it. Uh, Again, work in, don't just say tech, maybe doing X in tech. Uh, 50 characters is about 10 words. So you only have so much. So get to the point very quickly and keep it boring. Um, as far as the essays go, I'll just run through the questions here. Through your resume, essay one, through your resume and recommendations, we have a clear sense of your professional path to date. Hard stop. What they're telling you is you do not have to repeat what's in your resume. At that point, they want to see beyond your resume, beyond your professional life. What are your career goals over the next 3 to 5 years? Another hard stop. You just told them what your career goals are for when you get out of business school. Now they're thinking about what happens after that next job. And 3 to 5 years just happens to align, to line up with folks who leave consulting after 3 years, or folks who are moving on to investment banking after 3 years. That's sort of a natural breakpoint in terms of switching up your career. So to the degree that you know something like that, by all means, share. But frequently people are somewhat a little bit more fuzzy or as far as that goes, and maybe it's your long-term job that is actually sort of driving your motivations here. Which brings us to your long-term dream job. And I always tell people the important adjective here is dream. So it's nothing boring by any means. It's something that is very aspirational. Business schools want to see something that's both aspirational, but also achievable. Don't just say you're going to be an astronaut. Make sure that's achievable. It's something that you can actually make happen. But at the same point, reach a little bit there. Essay two, the Phillips pathway. This is a question that wasn't on the application last year, but was on 2 years ago. And it is, clearly a question about generally diversity, equity, and inclusion. It is deep, nuanced question. We have a lot more resources about it, but make this a personal example and don't be afraid to go small. And what I mean by that is maybe it's just you having a long conversation with your boss. Maybe it's about you just helping a colleague, navigate some issues that they have with another colleague. At the end of the day, do not think like you have to, change the world, but rather think deeply about even a small example that you actually live. Essay three. In many ways, I think that this is almost the most important essay. Why Columbia? Because it's important to recognize business schools are different. Business schools want to know that you know where you're going, that you actually know why it's Columbia versus some other great school. And the way to really convince them of that is by being specific in terms of why Columbia. And again, it's not why business school, it's why Columbia. And I tell folks, look at your essay. If anything in there can be said about any other school, then by all means, take it out. Columbia is one of the top business schools. I look forward to getting a great business education there. I really am excited about the entrepreneur curriculum, and I see it being as a place I can really study finance. Everything I just said just can be about any single school. So at that point, get specific about this. And before we talk about the optional essay, obviously, Mahima, you just went through it. Any thoughts on your own essays? What worked, what didn't?
Yes, yes. I actually was going to stop you and make a comment, but that's perfect from your end. But I think I didn't do the essay too, like you mentioned. For me, if the essay was about like a favorite book or a favorite movie. But the essay three this time was the essay two last time. So, like you said, it's a very important essay which talks about why CBS. Um, it doesn't. If it's generic, then it's a bad essay is what I'm going to say. It has to be something that really speaks to you. It has to be something that tells your story coherently. If you mention that you are passionate about, I keep on coming back to like a technology example because I am from a tech background, but I'm going to go from there. So if you say that you are excited about CBS because because you were at tech and you want to learn other things, that's so vague that how is CBS adding value there? A good pointer here is maybe the technology club, talking about how the club can help you and how you're looking to recruit into a specific job in which the club has had a really good history in helping people get there. It could be about a specific class with a specific professor that you really enjoy and are looking forward to take up and is famous on CBS website, or you've heard from your friends who have been to CBS or something like that. It has to be as personal as it can get, and just speaks about how unique you are and the brand value that you bring by being at CBS and by availing those resources. So I think it ties back to what you said, Harold, that if you say that it's a great program and I want to be here, that's every program though. Like there's nothing that ties you and CBS. So there should be a story that ties together. Maybe you can talk about how you always wanted to be in New York City. And that's something really cool too, because that's special to CBS. These are some of the things that I mentioned in my essay, and it worked. So I guess being personal helps, and please do that. I think that's the biggest advice I can ever give to anyone who's trying to get into CPS or any other good school for that matter.
Perfect. I think that's absolutely right. And just, I feel like we should be wrapping up pretty soon. And I know we haven't quite gotten through everything, but let me talk a little bit about the optional essay, because the rest of the application is fairly straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
I'll talk about the optional essay, and then we'll stop last time for questions and give you a little bit more information about GMAT Club and MBA mission. The optional essay, you see a maximum of 500 words there. An optional essay is a place to explain those things that need to be explained. So again, why a direct supervisor is not giving you a recommendation, why there's that gap in employment, why why they see some real potholes on your resume, why is your GPA not as good as maybe it should have been, why your analytical ability is far better than what your GMAT indicates, all sorts of different things that may be required that you may want to explain. Work experience less than anticipated, longer than anticipated, whatever it is. However, they give you plenty of room for that. And they specifically say you may submit in bullet points, meaning just the facts. Let us know what happened. At the end of the day, this is not another essay that you cannot copy and paste from another school. They are not particularly interested in reading another long essay about something else that you've done. They're not particularly interested in reading another essay that you wrote for another school. So keep this, I say, very dry. Just give them the facts. And at that point, then it's up to them what to do with it. I will say that there are going to be opportunities where you can maybe explain or mitigate some of the things, potholes in your resume. Perfect example is you did not do particularly well in the GMAT. At that point, maybe you choose to take an online course, something like MBA Mission, HBS Core. This is a great place to indicate, even though my GMAT isn't quite where I want it to be, I have been able to address my quantitative weakness by taking these courses. So at this point, we're really very much at the end. So let me pause again here. Subscribe to GMAT Club. Great stuff there, particularly as deadlines get closer. Please like this video so we can keep on taking more of them. As far as MBA Mission goes, we have wonderful stuff online. We have a huge number of essays, essay analysis, essay prompts, guides to all the different major schools, and everybody can sign up for a free 30-minute consultation where we can talk to you about whatever you'd like. So at that point, let me stop talking for a little bit. And Mahima, I anticipate we have some questions that we want to finish up with here.
Yes, I think all the other questions are more related to the activities and the resume, and I think we went over that briefly. So I think we're good to close. Thanks everyone for being here. I hope this was helpful. Harold was amazing. He was so, I guess, detailed in everything, which I know if I joined this call last year, I would have learned so much. So thank you for that, Harold. I hope this was fun. I hope you like, subscribe, share, join for like everything, all the other lives that we have planned with the other schools, and have a great Friday and the rest of the weekend.
Yeah, and Mahima, good luck with starting Columbia Business School. It's very exciting.
Thank you. I'll need it. Thank you. All right. Bye, everyone. Thanks for being here. Bye.